So they're quite scared of us, so it makes sense to why they might be lying under the tree. So you can see the mother walking around, protecting her young. I have no idea where they went. So she's a very clever mom, wherever she took her children. Unless you can see them there in the distance. Ooh. Can you hear that sound? It's the sound of two impalas in the distance. So I thought that was an alarm call, but it's still the rutting season. So you can see those young crested francolins now. Very, very sweet. Very, very cool to see that. And not only... Wait, now we can quite clearly see them. Well, no, we can't clearly. They're through the grasses there. Very sweet. There we go. Beautiful little crested francolins. Following mother very, very closely. And they've got to be careful of all sorts of predators that might kill them, such as eagles and owls and all those many different creatures. And there's also an interesting interaction here as we sit here. If we have a look here, let's start at the hornbill that's just up here to the left of us. So this is a little bit of symbiosis that you can quite often see.
Where is it?
Sorry, Dave, it's just in this tree here. You'll see it cleaning itself there. And the reason why I'm starting off with this hornbill that's in the tree, bottom left of the screen, you'll see him. So there he is. He's in the middle of your screen now, behind that tree. So he was camouflaged in that tree. So that hornbill, the reason why I brought you into the attention of the hornbill is purely because there's a relationship that's going on here out in the bush between this yellow-billed hornbill, or otherwise known as a flying banana, and the mongoose that are below it. And they have an interaction where mongoose will act as an alarm system for all sorts of, or for the mongoose that are below it. So if we look carefully, we might be able to see those mongoose that are just below this hornbill. And that's almost like a sound alarm system for these mongoose, as they will then start collecting insects from the ground. So the mongooses are just at the end of this tree here, lying up together on top of a mound. And I just quickly saw that in the distance. There's a whole group of dwarf mongoose here. And that's so cool. I just spotted them from a distance. So there's a little bit of an interaction here between the two. And I think if we just stand still for a bit, maybe we'll see the interaction between the hornbill and the mongoose. Maybe these mongoose will start leaving that little area there and start feeding around there, and we'll start seeing the hornbill come down and collect some food after the mongoose, because that's the relationship that they hold, that the mongoose will start looking for food, and in doing so will start disturbing insects out of their holes, and then the hornbill will benefit from those flying insects. And at the same time, those mongoose will be benefiting as that alarm system in the tree there. So a nice little group of crested francolins to a hornbill in a tree to a number of mongoose beneath them. So fascinating as you spend time with all the different systems and relationships of the natural world. So that's very, very cool. It looks like they're probably going to be sitting there for quite some time. But it was nice to see that little bit of interaction between a mongoose and a hornbill. But as we drive past here, let's go quite slowly. Maybe we can get to see the mongoose up a little bit closer and understand, well, just to see what their home looks like a bit more. See, they're getting very nervous as I come past. Maybe if I just... It's a little bit right in front of the car now. So I'm just going to reverse so Dave has a nice view of it. There we go. So now we're looking at what looks like an old termite mound. And you can very, very clearly see the small little mongoose that's just popped its head up on the top left there. And there's the second one. So they're getting comfortable now. They're like, ooh, whatever that sound is, I think it's gone. Sweet. So it's really nice to spend some time with these dwarf mongoose. There's 3 of them that are out at the moment. So these termite mounds will be used by a number of different creatures out here, from aardwolf to even honey badgers, to all sorts of animals, the aardvark, and a lot of them actually eat the termites. So not only do they eat the termites, but they live in the dwellings of termite mounds. So you can really understand that relationship of how termites provide such a rich base of nutrients to all the animals of the natural environment. And these mongoose not only just spend time where they are now, they spend time in many, many different dwellings around here. So they've probably got around 10 different homes. And during the day or every second day or so, or every day, they'll jump between home to home. And creating diversity in their homes allows them to have a little bit more resilience against the predators. The predators don't know where they've gone. And fascinatingly, you actually learnt, I was reading up on these dwarf mongoose, and they're quite similar to meerkats in the sense that they also have sentinels, which means one of the mongoose will come out and will look around for any predator while they start feeding, which is quite interesting. You'll see them standing on their hind feet, looking around for any predator that might be in the area. Look at that small little nose. So sweet. So very, very, very interesting looking creatures. And these are our social kind of group of mongoose. So you get some of the mongoose that aren't as social as this, that live in gregarious groups, like the slender mongoose and the white-tailed mongoose. So if we're lucky, we might be able to see a white-tailed mongoose this evening. So, sweet little mongooses. It's great to have spent some time with them this evening before we started looking and hearing for any lion activity that might be happening in the distance. So we can spend some time with these diurnal creatures during the day, and when the night comes, when those owls come, we might just be able to spot some of those owls that would eat mongoose such as this. So that's their dwelling, that's their home. So let's begin to carry on after we look at this mongoose. Let's have a last little look at this mongoose. Have a look at the hair, the ants that are crawling around in the background there. Look at the smelling. Look how this one looks like he's smelling something. Those little claws, you can see the little claws of the mongoose there. They're so small that they must be to help them dig and forage for any insects in the ground. That's beautiful. Great filming there, Dave. So now we can quite clearly see all the different characteristics of this dwarf mongoose. From that little nose to this. So I think to help you even to see a difference between things out here, so you've just seen how small that little toes are, those little feet are. I'm just going to get a track out from my book and show you the track of a dwarf mongoose. And then you can really, really put things together. Here we go. So that's the dwarf mongoose. It's only plus minus 2 centimeters big. Bottom left, right here. Dwarf mongoose there. So that is the dwarf mongoose. So that's a difference. So when we go looking for the white-tailed mongoose, which is this one over here, that's 6 centimeters big. Plus minus 6 centimeters big. So there's quite a big difference between the two. And as I said, that's a solitary mongoose that will move around on its own. So what a cool sighting we just had of those little dwarf mongooses and those small little crested franklins. Let's move forward and see if we can... Coming out onto the savannah this evening. Just going to get an update to see if anything's been found. Good evening, stations. Can I please get an update from WildEarthTV? Have a look at that sun just before it goes down over there, just because this is quite a nice area. I mean, it's quite bright at the moment. So there's the sun that's just going down over that area after another beautiful day in the African bush. So it's still got some time to go down, but that still looks so magical. It's incredible what these cameras can do. So that's a beautiful look of the sun this evening as we drive slowly but surely down towards the areas where potentially some leopard activity might be. And I just asked on the radio and that no one's found anything. So we're going to carry on down this road and see what we might be able to find. Brent has just come back onto Djuma. Let's go find out his story and how things are going with him.
So isn't this light beautiful? The sun setting. We're heading back west towards Djuma. Now, we're very confident in Canyon and those cubs are there. We just don't have the time to follow up this evening. So I definitely think it's a worthwhile mission for the morning. And we'll definitely take Hubert with us and put him out on those tracks. So what we're hoping, because she's gone into a really big block, is that she's going to go for a drink during the night. So that'll give us a place to start. Cheetah Plains Pan. She might have left the cubs for the morning.
Sorry about this, everybody. Perhaps something has pushed over the Gauri repeater, just like the elephants have pushed over this marula tree. Our technical team is rushing around madly trying to fix it, and we'll be back with you as soon as we can.
We are back on board with Dave and Sam now. We are currently going from that beautiful sunset that we just saw, and we're actually going to turn left here, not down into the drainage line, because I think it will be worthwhile just going back on Cheetah Cut line. Potentially some of those lines have crossed and we can have a look and see if there's any tracks there. It would make me very excited if we can end our drive with some wonderful looking lines. And if we don't, of course, that's not the point of the safari. The point of the safari is to show you the wonderful things of the natural world, both big and small. So we'll see if we can find anything else that might be small, nocturnal, and difficult to find. Because that's what gives me the excitement. Linda would like to know what makes that dark or rich darkness on some of the termite mounds that we find. Linda, it's a good question. You know, it's just much fresher soil, so I would presume that it's the minerals from the soil that they go and get. So it's the soil that they got before is just the same sort of soil, but it's much older. And sometimes they will go collect, soils that have seeds in them that are quite fertile, and that's why we often find some trees that are very, very fertile in that area. And like a brown ivory, for example, you often find a brown ivory, which is always quite exciting. Well, I say exciting just because it's a difficult tree to find. Have a look at this. Wow. Now this tree, right here, has really been taken down by an elephant. You can see that it is very much dead because there are no green leaves on this marula tree, but you can see all around it a whole bunch of branches. There's bark on the floor. And you know what, I'm just going to get out for 1 second just to show you. So it's incredible what they actually manage to do, elephants. They're able to come across and rip into the bark here and get to this fertile, well, really good, rich cambium layer that's beneath here. But the tree itself is only able to bring water and nutrients through this cambium layer that's between the bark that protects it and the actual tree itself. So that cambium layer has been stripped off by the elephants, and of course that's otherwise known as ring barking, and that kills the tree. But we spoke about it a little bit with children the other day on the child drive. Eventually what will happen with this tree is something similar to what that termite mound happens. So this tree might even be taken up by a number of termites that then create a mound inside of the tree itself, and then it'll patch up holes around if there's any holes in there. But eventually over time this tree may break and fall down, and a number of insects will begin to inhabit that tree, such as spiders and snakes and all the different things. So in nature everything is used again. So I just jumped up there. Nothing gets put to waste, so it's magical when you start to see that. So let's carry on. Maybe we can find ourselves some elephants. So we're going to go and drive down this road and see if we can find anything. And let's go see how Brett's doing.
So we're stalking a beast that doesn't know he's being stalked. I think he's got a similar idea. We're looking for the same animal, but she'll see if we can sneak up upon them, see how aware they are. You've got to keep your head low when you're stalking. Sam has called me on the radio and asked me what is my position. Sam, I'm back from CP and I'm quite close to you. He still hasn't figured out we're stalking him. And neither is Dangerous Dave. Should we go boo? Still nothing. Sam, what's your position? This is quite funny now, guys. So we're gonna try. Sam, what's your position? Sorry? Let's go see. We're both looking for the lion at the moment, so we're both around here. So we finished our stalk of Sam and Dave, and they did not notice us behind them for the last 100, 200 meters.
Such a fright. We were just wondering, should we go down this road to see if we can find those lions? And we thought that's why I wanted to get hold of you. So see if you can find that lion.
We were talking to you while driving behind you.
Yeah, interesting. Anyway, Genre, while you film us, go see if you can find those lions.
Yes. No tracks coming across Cheetah line, eh?
No, I've been looking.
Very cool. They must be still in between here and
must have moved position. Either I didn't see.
Well, it could be flat under a bush.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go have a look. Bye, guys.
Cheers, everyone.
The little imp on my shoulder made me do it. So we're both in the area looking for that male lion we saw this morning. Now, I'm still wanting to look for that mating pair, but I think I'm going to wait for it to get a little bit darker before we go down there. I'm really hoping that the one thing they do need while mating is water, so they might move towards the Djuma dam cam. So guys, please keep an eye out for me, and let me know immediately if those lions pop up on the Djuma dam cam. So unfortunately we lost signal while I was explaining why we left tracking that female leopard. She went into a big block, but we're quite confident she might have a kid in there because she's brought the cubs. So we want to go back when we've got a lot of daylight. We're going to take Hubert, security/tracking team, and we're going to send him off on the last set of tracks, or if we can find even more fresh tracks tomorrow morning. So give him a radio, and then we can carry on checking around Cheetah Plains, and Hubert can focus on finding those leopards for us. Okay, so that lion was sleeping just up here. Good evening, Christine from North Carolina. Christine's heard conflicting reports whether we are in a malaria area or not. This is classified as a malaria area, but a low-risk malaria area. So generally, one says if you are coming out this part of the world, take your GP's advice. None of us who live out here take malaria prophylactics. Now, to take prophylactics for malaria for extended periods of time would be worse for us than actually just getting malaria. And quite often, as I hate to say this, but my dad has some very good sayings. One of his favorites is, malaria is not serious if you treat it seriously. Now, that always makes it a little bit easier if you know what the symptoms are, and I mean, almost immediately we can pick up whether I know if I've got malaria within a couple of minutes. Not quite that, but when I wake up in the morning, swollen spleen, achy joints, basically very cold and flu-like symptoms without having the flu. Now, he was sleeping under a weeping wattle just in here earlier today, so just checking very carefully through here. Got him. Here he is. He's still, there we go, still in the same place.
Yeah, not bored.
Yes, so he's lying where we left him this morning, under the weeping wattle. Let's just sneak through. Are you sure, Jean?
Yep.
But this is exactly, he literally has not moved a meter. Well, he's moved 1.5 meters. Sam. We've located that Wanunangala lying up in the same place. There he is. So he's probably spent the whole day sleeping around here. But when they do lie flat, they can disappear into the grass. Yeah, he's definitely got an injury, and it's a fresh one on his paw. So I'm pretty confident that he's got that from fighting with one of the other coalition members for mating rights. So there's two different Birmingham males mating with two different Nkrumah lionesses at the moment. And here's the boy who's unlucky in love. Or maybe not unlucky in love, unlucky in fighting for love. So he's not moving at all, and I don't think he's going to move just yet. We need to change our camera battery, so I'm going to just let final control know that, so we can get hold of Sam and let him know that he's about to be live again. So if we disappear in the next 30 seconds or so, we apologize. It's because our battery's about to die and we need to change it. So while we do that quickly, let's jump back on board with Sam.
So Brett pulls in and he's been on Cheetah plans and he finds that line that he saw this morning. So he was with that line this morning and he left it somewhere there. So he was able to find it straight away. So we smelt and looked and didn't find that line, but he managed to find it. Well done, Brett. But we are coming down towards Buffelshoek Dam now, and we are going to see if we can find something here. Potentially there might be something that has come down to the watering hole this evening. So who knows what we might find. It is starting to get a little bit more chilly as the night progresses. So let's see, we're just there, so we're literally down like probably 100 meters from the watering hole now. The sun is now gone, and we'll see if we can spot something that might be sitting there. But otherwise we're going to drive to a position where we can do some stars this evening, which I'm quite excited to do. Laura Parker's saying, did I know it was a blue moon tonight? No, I had no idea there was going to be a blue moon tonight. Awesome. You say blue moon or full moon? Blue. What is it? Oh, okay. Yes, I didn't know that. That's very cool. So we still got our hippos that are in the distance there. There they are, relaxing in this evening. I wonder how long they'll be in this watering hole for until they get out and start walking around. So they'll start grazing at some time. So we're going to go back to the sighting with Brent. He's managed to find those lines again.
So welcome back. As you can see, he hasn't moved too much, still licking that injury on his paw. I'm just going to, unfortunately, we're having a bit of battery issues with our camera. It's dropping, so we do have a few % left, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to call Sam in here because I'm hoping this line's going to get moving shortly. Sam, could you come join us on Drakensberg? Just come from Guaripan, head south, and you'll get our visual. So we have got some other batteries on charge back at camp. So what we'll do is we'll wait for Sam to get here, just in case he moves before then. And once he's here, we will head back to camp quickly, change the batteries, and go look for the mating pair. But look at this big boy. He is very, very pretty. You can see how dark his mane is starting to become around the edges. And it's amazing to think when I first saw these boys, they barely had a mane. Oh, yes, very tired. It's got a sore foot and a big belly full of buffalo. Let me just move the vehicle back a bit. So hi, Steve in Montana. Oh, lovely part of the world. I definitely want to go fly fishing there one day, Steve. Steve saying, is a wounded lion more dangerous? If you come across a bear in the States that's injured, it's far more dangerous. Well, this isn't a major injury. It's more just a little nick. And these lions often have these sort of little niggly injuries. But if it had a major injury, it is definitely more dangerous. They're likely to forget their instinctive fear of the bipedal figure of man and try and make your dinner. So quite often when man-eating happens, it is an injured or old animal that becomes far more dangerous to people. But he's in very good health, apart from he's got a little cut on his foot, and you can see he's got a big fat belly full of buffalo, so and full of flies on the outside at least. But here he is. I wouldn't consider him more dangerous than if he didn't have a limp. So one thing that I think is going to be quite wonderful this evening is I do think we're going to have a lot of lion roaring around, and hopefully we'll catch some of that on the live drive. Otherwise, listen to the Djuma cam. I think we're going to hear an absolute cacophony this evening. Such a beautiful, beautiful animal. Such raw power. It's sort of that massive latent energy. And they just look so docile when they're sleeping like this. But they can literally switch in seconds to this incredibly impressive, highly mobile monster. Now, the Birmingham boys are definitely not the biggest lions I've ever seen. I guess they weigh around 200 kilograms, which is about 420 pounds or so, around there. And I've seen male lions, and I've actually darted and taken samples from a male lion that weighed 245 kilograms. And that was in northern Botswana, a big Kalahari male lion. 245 kilograms, I think, is over 500 pounds. And here comes Sam and Dave to the rescue. Oh, we need to go change some batteries that have been charging. It looks like it's them. And there we go. There we go. So we're going to move out and let Sam come in here. One last look of the lion and answer one last question from Kat. I think Sam might have realized he drove past the lion a bit earlier, just judging by that look on his face. So Kat's wondering if there's any healing properties in a lion survivor. Kat, not that I'm aware of. I think possibly, because I mean, if you get lion saliva in you, you're liable to get an infection from it. Maybe if you're a lion, there are some healing properties, but I've never heard of any per se. So we're going to scoot out and let Sam and Dave come in here. And while we do that, Jen would like to know how long it would take for us to get back to camp. Probably just under 10 minutes from where we are at the moment, and then we'll grab those new batteries and we'll be out. But in the meantime, let's go to Sam, who's behind me, and carry on enjoying that Birmingham boy.
Goodbye, Brent. See you later, Brent. Yeah, so that is quite embarrassing. I was looking for this lion everywhere earlier. I could smell him, I could pretty much taste him, and he was lying up by next to the road there. Look at, he's right there. But Brent was with the lion this morning, so that does make it a little bit easier for him to view the animal. Right, let's go and see this beautiful Birmingham boy. Hold on tight, everyone. Just got to get in here nice and comfortably. There he goes, just lifted up his head. Let's get a visual, the best visual that we can of him. There he is. Sorry about that. Let's go a little bit. Beautiful. Look at that view. So here we are with one of the Birmingham boys. It's been quite some time, so we were smelling you and seeing your tracks everywhere this afternoon. We couldn't quite find you. But it's not easy when you're live and you're trying to find a lion, I must say. It's not the easiest thing. But there he is. So we might just be lucky enough to see him contact call. Or maybe even roar. Looks like he's starting to get active. Look at that beautiful mane of this Birmingham boy. So apparently there's a number of them that are actually mating at the moment. As we spoke about earlier in Torchwood, Brent was telling me that there's a mating pair on Torchwood and potentially... Oh, is he going to get up? What's he? Oh, it looks very injured. Have a look at this. So it looks like he can't even step on his foot. This is very interesting. Brent didn't tell me that he was injured. I didn't know that he was an injured Birmingham boy. So he's just got up and sat right behind us now. It's not far behind. I'm just going to get into a position where we can view him again. Could you see that? There he goes, he's starting to get up again. Let's just see what his movements is. You can see that he's not in a good way. There he goes, he's going to go to the toilet. So this is quite fascinating. You can, if you have a look at his foot there, you can actually see he looks a little bit injured. It does look like there's a little bit of blood. So something happened, something must have happened. Maybe he was trying to get breeding rights with the other females. So we know that the other males are mating with the females. And what could have happened that he got into a fight with one of the other males to get breeding rights and he's badly injured himself. Oof. He can barely stand on his front left foot. Happened. Let's just watch him as he moves off there. So we'll reverse. It's that fascinating behavior to see how injured he is. Not behavior, rather to see that he's not looking too well. It looks like he's just going to be following the road in that direction. It's not far away from us. Just see him at the moment. I think he'll come down towards the road. Looks like he's scent marking. There he is. As you can see a little bit of the... Let's go in front. he goes. There he goes, send mark. Quite clearly see the spray there. So what's going on? Looks like he's going to be heading in this direction. Have a look at the way he's walking. There's a clear limb. So let's follow him and see in what direction he might go. But I can tell you there's not going to be much running this evening from this Birmingham boy. So this might change the dynamics within the coalition quite a bit, just to see one of them quite injured like this. And you hear some crested francolins in the distance making quite a bit of noise. Let's continue. How cool is this to watch? Sorry about this, I'm going to get out of low range. Right, so let's go and follow this line. So he's walking right down the path in front of us. There he goes. So anything could have happened in the night, but my guess is that there was a little bit of anxiety, maybe a little bit of fighting over the night between the breeding rights of those females that they're mating with. But there's a very significant limp in his step at the moment. So we're just going to slowly follow him. And if we're lucky, we might just get a contact call between him and the other males. What I'm quite interested in finding out is what would the interaction be between the males now that maybe something happened overnight. Very, very interesting behavior. Rather to see him injured like this. Janet would like to know, we can see quite clearly that the lion has been injured. Would we help him or wouldn't we? We're asking Janet. Janet, no, we don't help any of the animals out here. The only time we get involved with animals is when there is a disease that might spread, such as rabies. So the answer to that is no. We won't help any of these animals. It's not for us to get involved. So he's going to hope that he can heal himself over the next couple of weeks. He is a dominant male lion in the area, but that might just, if other lions, if other kind of coalitions begin to find out that this male lion is in not a very good state, they might take opportunities to take territory. So we know that we've just lost one of the Birmingham boys, not just a couple of weeks ago, so there's only 4 of them left. And to see that this one now is quite injured, it does worry me a little bit for their coalition. There's you can quite clearly see that, hey Janet, there is quite a loss in the step there. I think it could be the wrist that could be quite injured with this male lion. And he's really following the path in terms of walking on the road in front of us, so he's giving us such a great visual. Yeah, let's watch him do a sample. There we go. He'll lift his leg. That was a scent mark from a male lion. So not only do they roar to show dominance to a territory, but they also use scent to tell other male lions that this is his area, this is his territory. Not his, but also him and his coalition. So he seems quite relaxed as he walked down this road, but that injury is very present on him. And I wonder which one of the Birmingham boys it is. So if there's anyone out there that might actually know which one it is, it's a Birmingham boy number 2. And that's the one that we've been spending some time with. And I know that Birmingham boy number 2 has quite a dark sort of mane to it. That's the way in which I remember the difference between some of the Birmingham boys, that number 2 had quite a big mane. Susan Weil is commenting and saying that, look, he's already looking a little bit better. Yes, Susan, he is looking a little bit better compared to when he first stood up. When he first stood up and he started walking, I mean, you would have agreed with me, he went straight into a limp. Let's go here. There he goes. So it looks like he's going to get down here on the middle of the road. So let's go around and have a look at his face. The only reason I want to get into this position is get into this position because I think he might be roaring. There we go. So if you listen clearly, he's giving off a little roar. So it would be nice to see his face. I'm going to reverse in a couple seconds and see if he doesn't roar now. Then we can get a good visual of his face. Let's quickly get into a position where we can see his face. Right here, he's got on the ground now. Fascinating, he actually got on the ground there to start doing those rasps that he made. It didn't sound like a roar, it was quite very, very gentle roar that he did there. But often lions will get on the ground and roar, particularly on the ground, because that'll help with the vibration a bit more. Actually go a little bit closer to him. Nice visual of his face. So here he is. Let's have a look at his face. See what we can see. If there's any scratches or any marks that might be on his face. I can't see any at the moment. It was just that significant limp that he had. There we go. So his face doesn't look like he's been in a big fight there. Just observing his face, but we can definitely see a limp. And the limp got a little bit better towards the end. Still wasn't great. So he doesn't look like he's in the best of shape. So a lot of the viewers are saying that it's Blondie. I would be interested to know, what is your observation of Blondie? How can you tell that it is Blondie? Is it because of the significant bit of blonde just on the forefront of his mane there? Could be why he's called Blondie. There is quite a significant bit of black darkness to his mane. He looks very tired. I mean, he walks with a bit of Lenny would like to know because this lion is in an injured state and has been walking around the reserve or around Djuma and is not able to catch anything, because there is an open vehicle here, could it or might it come and jump and get some easy prey sitting in the car next to Lenny? I don't think so. There has been cases where that has happened in the past, but very, very few cases, 1 or 2, which was in the Kruger National Park. So nothing I've ever heard of in the Sabi Sands where that has happened. So Lenny, we are very safe here next to this beautiful looking Birmingham boy. I hope it's not the first time that ever happens. It is starting to get quite a little bit darker now. I'm going to switch on my side light. Ooh, sorry. So Paul is saying some of the lions, well, some of the animals in the bush are able to heal amazingly fast. And so can the lions. Yes, Paul, I agree with you. They do heal quickly. And a lot of the time you'll see them actually lick their wounds. And I think that really, really helps them in trying to heal it, get them better. Let's get a close-up. It's on that left paw. So let's actually have a look at that paw and see if there's any significant damage that we can see. It was the front left paw. So that was the paw that it was walking on. We could quite significantly see some difficulty in his stride. I can't see much difference to it just by looking at it at the bottom. Only when we really see it start walking can we quite clearly see that there's something wrong in its walk. But we were so lucky to get her just after Brent found the lion and to be able to just walk behind it for some time, not walk but drive behind it and see in what condition it's in. Hopefully he'll get up again and start walking again, and if there's anyone that's just tuned in to watch, there is something wrong with the step. There's a little bit of a limp in the left foot of this lion here. He did look like he was in quite a little bit of pain. So he should be fine. There he goes, he's lifting his leg again, or his head. So I'm going to put some lights on the lion now. The only reason I switched off now is just because I noticed that he didn't like it. So let's just switch it on again and see how he feels. There we go, he's fine. He doesn't worry too much to that light. So we can view him quite nicely now. So we're just going to get into a position where we can actually see his head. Oh, not his head. I'm just going to move the light so that I can... At the moment it's pointing in the other direction. There we go. What would be quite interesting is if we start actually hearing the sound of the other male lions in the distance and what potentially might happen then when he starts to hear those sounds. We know that, as I said earlier, there were 2 other mating pairs of lions. One in Torchwood and one was down by Gowrie Cutline, which is not so far away from here. And we went to go look for them earlier. I went down into the block to see if I could find the mating pair, but it's very, very thick down there, so we didn't have time to go down and find the mating pair. But we know that there is, I think, a mating pair that's down there that we might be able to find a little bit later. So let's get a little bit more lights and see. So that's where he's a little bit injured in that foot there. So now that we're looking at it more, have a look at that pad though while we're there. Much, much bigger than that of a leopard. Sometimes people can get confused between a leopard and a lion track, but just know that a male lion's track is quite a lot bigger than that of both a female lion and a leopard. That's the track, but I can't see any significant damage. I think that, just looking at that spot there, that there doesn't seem to be anything too bad to it there. So now it's really starting to get dark. The sun really has set. So this lion should get up again, in theory, because they have kind of 3 hours in the day that they start getting up. Well, they get active at this time. So there's the other pad, the hind foot. So we saw your tracks, quite a few of them earlier. They were walking through here. So there he is. If we're lucky, we'll be able to see him get up and start roaring, start contact calling. But he does look quite thin. It looks like he hasn't eaten. From what I heard from reports, that they did actually eat a small buffalo last night. But I'm not sure if this lion actually managed to get something to eat. So it doesn't seem... I can't hear any sounds in the distance there of any other lions that might be contact calling. But the moon is starting to come out through the horizon there. So the moon is coming out. You probably could only just see the shine of it through the trees. It's just over there. Up there. You'll just see maybe just a little bit of it coming through there in the distance. So let's have a quick little look through there. That looks very, very cool. And if we just go to the right of that, I think that's Mars that's coming up just next to the trees there, over there. That star over there. Oh, not star, rather planet. Let's have a good look at it. So that's most definitely a planet. I don't think it's Mars, purely because it's not very red. But it could very well be one of the planets out there. Could be Venus. Oh no, it is Mars. You can quite clearly see the red on it now. So it's reflecting light back to our planet. So really, 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 really beautiful stars out tonight. And the moon will be getting much fuller tonight. So it could be, as you said, it's the blue moon. So we'll have a good look at the moon a bit later as it comes over this thick bush here. And that's going to mark a very, very different evening here for all the animals in the bush as this bright light begins to show way for these lions as they walk on their landscapes. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful picture. It's going to be a beautiful picture when that moon does rise and we are able to see a little bit more of the moon and the lion. Betsy's asking, just because of its injury, do you think it's going to make it a lot more difficult for this lion to eat? Betsy, I do believe it's going to make life a little bit more difficult for him. Of course, I don't think he'll be able to run like he is able to. And of course, male lions, they don't actually make as many kills as female lions. So it could be that he'll go and scavenge quite a lot of kills. So if he walks around and he bumps into a leopard with some food in the tree, then he'll take that, he'll try to get to that food. He can't climb trees much like leopards can. But they're great scavengers as well, lions are. So if he finds anything that he can opportunistically eat, he's going to. Hunting is going to definitely be a little bit harder than usual. But he's definitely looking like he's been in better condition. Looks like he does need a good meal to eat. He's not looking very full. So just while we're sitting here as well, before the lion gets up again, let's have a look at the stars one more time. I know that we wanted to talk about stars again. And if we look just above us, so we've had a look at the moon, we've had a look at The moon will just be getting a little bit bigger over time, but let's wait for it to cross over that bush, a little bit of bush there. And let's just go to Alpha Centauri, which is just over here. It's over there. So it's those two stars that are just up over there. It's not going to be very easy to see. It's still quite bright. You can just see them there. That's Alpha and Beta Centauri. I'm not sure if you can see them right now, but that's them. And if we drew a line through that, and then we drew a line through the cross, which I'll show it to you when it comes out. It's not out at the moment, but one of those is a binary star. We were speaking about it the other night, and the other is not a binary star, which is it's Alpha Centauri, which is our closest star to this planet. And the next closest star is obviously the Sun. So if we wanted to go to this star, it'd take us 25,000 years, as I was explaining the other night. And it's just fascinating to learn a little bit more about how stars are and how they grow and how galaxies form and all the many, many different things. So that is Alpha and Beta Centauri. Let's come back down. You can just see the moon is beginning to rise in the distance there as this lion sleeps. It's going to be such a magical scene when this moon does eventually get into view with this light. If it takes too long, we can move into a position where we could see the moon behind this lion. So we still have 10 minutes, so that moon will surely rise in good time. So what would be interesting is to come back tomorrow morning and see in what direction has this male lion gone to, and what might it have experienced over the night. So I'm sure he feels quite ostracized now that he's not hanging out with the other Birmingham boys. He's up again. Look at that beautiful mane there. So it looks like he's going to go back down, but he's just lifted his head quickly. Have a look at that mane of this Birmingham boy. So it looked like he was just listening for something there. Christina just asked, what is it like to be stared at by a lion? Well, Christina, it's not so bad. It's not as bad as you might think it is. I've been doing it for quite some time now. So they're very, very relaxed with us in our vehicles around them. And so I don't feel nervous in the slightest, Christina. And it's all about just learning, Everything with the natural world is learning the behavior of an animal. So the more that we learn the behavior of the lion, the more that we learn the behavior of the elephant, the more that we can live in context with them. That's for me is the most important part of ecology and conservation, is actually just understanding the animal and its behavior. So the more that we can understand behavior, the better we can live with them in context with them. Okay, so we're just going to move back just a little bit. Let me just get into a position where we can have a look at this moon rise. There it comes. Can you see it quite beautifully there? So we might even get good visual of the moon rising and the light on. There it is. Look at that. It's incredible. So that's the blue moon that everyone was talking about a little bit earlier. That's incredible. So this moon will be beginning to rise over the plains this evening and over Djuma, and that will create room and it will give eyesight to the many different predators out here to be able to see everything that might be lurking around. And it's a very tense time to be out in the bush, especially when the moon is this large. It just creates a lot of, just everything has to be a little bit more aware of what it's doing out here. I mean, if you're a predator, it just makes life a little bit easier. They're able to be seen. But also, I mean, with a male lions have very, very big manes. And so they're able to be seen a lot quicker than the females. And that's why we often find that female lions will make more kills than male lions. Because that mane sometimes gives them away to all the different herbivores out here. So there it is. That's a beautiful picture of the moon this evening. And as we sit here, we can actually see the moon rising slightly. And the male lion is still very relaxed under this moon rising in the distance. It's a very, very magical thing to see. A moon rise over a male lion out in the African bush. It's incredible. So we can just carry on looking. So let's have a look at the moon rise as it comes above the treetops here. There we go, beautiful glow. So I think it was Susan, was it Susan that wanted to talk about the blue moon? Well, there we go, we have the moon rising underneath a magical looking male lion. I don't think he's going to be getting up anytime soon. I think he's very, very sleepy and tired. So we were just lucky to get some movement from the lion just for a couple minutes. And then he's got back down. So isn't that awesome? So the stars have come out a little bit more now that it's become a little bit darker, and I'll just explain to you south very, very quickly. And if we come out and we go back towards the Southern Cross that we were looking at a little bit earlier, so if we go back to the two stars that we were looking at earlier, which were the two pointer stars. I'm going to point there. Well, it seems that my lights just died. But there we go. We've got the two pointer stars there. So if we drew a line through those two stars, Alpha and Beta Centauri, and then when I say a line, a perpendicular line, so take those two stars, draw a line through the middle of them, straight perpendicular line through those stars. And then now that if we come out a little bit and we go up slowly, we'll come across the cross. So the cross is just above these two stars, Alpha and Beta Centauri. And there we go, that's part of the cross. So I'm not sure, can you see the cross there? Yeah, there are the crosses. So you'll see that there are three stars that are you can quite clearly see them. There's one that's very, very faint on top that will complete the cross. So there's three there. There's a faint one just on top that you might not be able to see because it's still a bit dark. There we go. There's a faint one. So now draw a line through draw a line from the left brightest star all the way down to the right brightest star. Okay? Draw a line through those stars and go all the way down. So as Dave comes out of this picture, keep that line steady. And so draw a line through that cross, and then where you met the other two stars, which was Alpha and Beta Centauri, draw a line through those where that perpendicular one was. And as you get where those two lines meet, from the top of the cross down to the bottom of the cross through that axis to where that perpendicular line was, where those 2 points meet, then you go down, and that is how you found south. So if anyone didn't understand that, I'll send a picture on my Rewild page to better explain it. Look at that beautiful moon there, and we come down from the moon and the magical distance, and there is the male lion. So under the stars, the male lion sleeps, and it's most likely going to be resting here for quite some time. It's then going to get up, probably start scent marking for a little bit longer. I'll be surprised to see if he managed to get something to eat this evening, but I highly, highly doubt it, as we can quite clearly see the injury on its foot. So we're not sure what might happen, but we'll come across this area again tomorrow morning, and we'll have a look and see if there's any tracks or signs of this lion, and see how it actually went over the night. And let's have our last look at that beautiful moon before we say goodnight to everyone after a wonderful evening sunset safari. There we go. So now we can quite clearly see all the different things on the moon, from the craters to that rabbit that you can see in the moon, that darkness there. And often when we look at the moon, we forget sometimes how it influences our life so much, from all the tidal activities that we get on our oceans to the actual axis of our planet. Our planet is severely influenced by the moon. So it's been a fantastic drive, everyone. I've had a fabulous time. Thank you very much, Dave, behind camera, who's been able to get such beautiful pictures. Rebecca and Louise in final control, thank you very much. Thank you, all the wonderful wildlife that has showed us everything. We'll see you tomorrow morning for a morning safari.